In this video, we continue to learn how to properly handle and care for our camera gear by taking a look at how to properly clean your lenses and your filters. Lenses are the soul of your camera system, which is why you need to treat them and respect them, both in how you handle them and in how you clean them. As you take a lens from its case, take the caps off, both front and back, and leave them in there. Lens caps are the easiest thing to lose on set, so if you always keep them in the lens case, you'll never have to worry about them disappearing. As you hold the lens, you will hold it with the front element down, and cup it with one hand. Be sure to cup the lens, do not touch that front element. If you do touch the front element, you'll have to clean the lens. With your other hand, grasp the body of the lens. As you carry the lens, you should always have two hands on it. As you go to hand the lens off to someone else, you will place it in their hand, face down. They will cup the front element and then grasp the body. Do not let go of the lens until you've heard from them, "Got it." At that point, you know they have the lens and it will not drop to the ground. I highly recommend that you follow this practice with every lens that you use. Even though it may seem silly when using a small $500 SLR lens, if you develop good habits early, then it will be second nature when you're using a more expensive cinema lens. Trust me, the last thing you want to do is to drop a cinema lens that can easily cost $30,000 or more. When it comes time to mount the lens to the camera body, the body cap should already be off. You shouldn't have to put the body cap on and off every time you change the lens. The lens change should be happening quick enough that you don't need to worry about the sensor. Now, if you are in a windy, dusty, or rainy environment, then you'll want to keep a hand over it or cover it, depending on the conditions. As you mount the lens to the camera body, hold it by the front element and guide it in with your other hand. As you do so, make sure that all the markings are on the smart side of the camera. That's so that they can be easily read by the assistant and the operator. If you're using SLR lenses, this really isn't an issue, as there's only one way to mount that lens. So the markings will always be on the smart side. If you're using lenses that have a PL mount, there's actually 4 different orientations that you can mount the lens. So that's where you need to pay close attention. Once it's mounted, twist and lock the lens, or the lens mount to secure the lens into place. Now attach your matte box, which becomes your lens cap when you need to protect the front element of the lens. When returning your lenses back to their case, set the focus to infinity and the aperture to wide open. You do this for 2 reasons. First of all, by setting your lens to the extremes, you prevent it from getting damaged. If the lens gets jarred, bumped, or dropped for some reason, it can create a dent in the aperture or in the focus mechanism. And that dent will prevent the lens from operating smoothly if it's in the middle of the focus scale or in the middle of the aperture. If that dent happens on the extremes, the lens will still be usable. The second reason is that by setting it to wide open and the focus to infinity, when you mount the lens, you get a viewable image right away. Our modern lenses have ultra-thin micro coatings on them, which are easy to damage and to ruin. That's why the most common mistake when it comes to cleaning lenses is that they get cleaned too much. A lens only needs to be cleaned when it's smudged or visibly dirty. The second most common mistake is using the wrong tools. If you have a lens pen, lose it. It's the quickest way to damage your lens. Lens pens can get dust and dirt particles stuck in them, and then when you go to wipe off your lens, those particles can scratch and remove the coatings of the lens. Another wrong tool to use is office-grade canned air. Not all canned air is created equal. Some of it has additional chemicals that can strip and damage the lens coatings. So get the right stuff, which is dust off. And you can pick that up from places like Film Tools. Okay, so now on to the proper method to cleaning your lenses. The first step to properly cleaning your lens is to start at the beginning with the least abrasive method, and then to continue on. Do not jump down steps. If you do, you'll end up leaving bigger particles on the lens, which can damage the lens coatings. So begin by grabbing your hand blower or your rocket and blow off any dust. As you blow the dust off, be sure to angle the lens and the blower so that the dust flies off the lens. Never point the blower directly down into the lens. If you do that, you can force dust into the crevices of the lens, and that can eventually end up on the inside of the lens, which will affect the picture quality. If your rocket doesn't do the job, then it's time to move on to phase 2. This is where you use canned air. Just like with a rocket, angle the lens and the blower so the dust flies off and away from your lens. Personally, I also recommend using the 360-degree nozzle. This makes it a lot easier to spray the lens, and it means that you don't have to hold the bottle at an awkward angle. 90% of the time, blowing off a lens with your rocket or with the canned air is all you need to do. But if that still hasn't done it, now it's time to break out the big guns. This is where you use wipes and cleaning fluid. The wipes I recommend using are Chem wipes, and the fluid I recommend is Pancro. While there are other options out there, I've found both these options to be the most reliable and the most effective, so it's worth spending the extra couple bucks to get them. And really, when you're cleaning your lens, isn't your lens worth an extra couple dollars? So as you take your Chem wipe from the box, make sure that you do not touch the center of the wipe. If you do, you'll have to use a different wipe, as it's not a good idea to get the dirt and oils from your fingers onto your lens. Now take the Chem wipe and fold it into quarters. Then from about 10 inches away, give the wipe one spray of Pancro. All you need to do is moisten it, not soak it. It is also critical to point out here that you should never use a dry Chem wipe on your lens, and you should never spray your lens directly with Pancro. That's a great way to damage your lens. So now with your moistened wipe, start at the center of your lens and wipe in a circular direction going outwards. If your wipe is getting dirty, it's time to use a new one and continue to clean the lens. Never reuse a wipe, or you could scratch the lens with dirt or dust that you just cleaned off. If there's any Pancro left on the lens, lightly breathe on it to help it disappear. Don't spit on it or get any saliva on it. Again, another great way to ruin your lens. At this point, the lens should now be clean. If there's any particles from the Chem wipe left on the lens, just blow them off with your rocket or with your canned air. And you can use the same process to clean your rear element too if that needs to be cleaned. Your filters need to be treated with the same care that your lenses do. While most of the time the filter is actually stacked in the middle between two pieces of glass or plastic, there are some filters that are on the outside. So if you develop good habits from the start, you'll never have to worry about what type of filter you're working with. As you grab a filter, always handle it from the edges. Never touch the center. If you touch the center, you can leave a fingerprint that can affect the final image or damage the filter. If you do touch the center, you'll need to clean the fingerprint off as soon as you can. To clean your filters, you follow the same protocol that you do for lenses. So start with a rocket, move up to canned air, and then on to Chem wipes and Pancro. The only difference is that when you're cleaning a square filter with Chem wipes and Pancro, you wipe in an up and down motion. And circular filters are treated just like lenses, so you wipe from the center out in a circular direction. Now that you know how to properly handle your lenses and your filters, it's time to learn how to tape a filter onto your lens for those times when you don't have or you can't use a matte box. As always, if you have any comments or questions, leave them in the comments section below, and then come join me in the next video.